Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Please rise for the entrance of Deputy Mayor Flago.
Thank you. We beseech thee, Lord, to bestow wisdom upon the members of this council in order that their decisions may be founded on justice and prudence. Amen. Please be seated. Before I get started, I have a brief announcement. There's Mayor Fougere and Brent Soberg won't be here tonight, and they're in Toronto, actually, maybe just on a plane right now, coming back from receiving an award that was granted the city earlier today, this afternoon, and it is to do with, on behalf of the city, our colleagues accepted the Chuck Willis Award for Municipal Infrastructure earlier today in Toronto. The Canadian Council for Public-Private Partnership presented this esteemed award for our work on the wastewater treatment upgrade project. The award was presented at the 2014 National Awards for Innovation and Excellence in Public-Private Partnerships. It's a distinguished acknowledgement. We're pleased to be recognized and proud to be the P3 partner with EPCOR out of Edmonton, also receiving this award. Thanks to all those who worked so hard on this project and to receive this recognition on behalf of the city. So congratulations to all those that were involved, and I'm sure we'll hear more about it once they return tomorrow. Thanks.
I'll move the agenda.
So moved. All those in favor? Seconder on that, sorry. Councillor Burnett. All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. And minutes.
I'll move approval of the minutes.
Seconder on that. Councillor Young. Any errors or omissions? Any opposed? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Let's move on to public notices, and we have a delegation. And it is Christy Balan. If you'd like to come forward, and this is regarding DE 14-88, and you have 5 minutes to make your presentation. Tell us who you represent, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Christy Billen, and I'm a resident of Harbour Landing, and I'm here representing the many voices of the concerned citizens who are impacted by the rezoning proposal before Council today. On October 1st, a zoning bylaw amendment went before Regina Planning Commission. I attended as a delegate and presented the residents' concerns of this proposal to the Commission. After much debate and dialogue, the proposal was defeated, and the Commission put forth an amended proposal. The modified proposal asks to amend the existing zoning of parcels Y and Z from IP to MAC. These parcels are not adjacent to any existing or future residential properties. The parcels A and U were proposed to be maintained as existing zoning of IP, and this is recommendation number 2 on your agenda. I will say, as a representative of my community, that residents are pleased that the amended proposal preserves the existing IP zoning. We respectfully ask that City Council maintain the zoning as IP for parcels A and U, as did the Regina Planning Commission. So I'll take just a few short minutes to share why we believe this is a good thing for our community. So big dreams, endless opportunities. Arrowwood is a perfect place to settle for any family. This quote is taken directly from the Harbour Landing website. 2 years ago, I bought into the allure of the community and was drawn in by a vision of a safe and quiet place where my husband and I could raise a family. We purchased a lot on Canuck Crescent. Before purchasing the lot, I researched the surrounding properties in order to understand what would be developed around us and make an educated decision about the lifestyle that we desired for our dream home. I knew that Parliament Avenue would eventually continue behind my property, and although this concerned me at first, I familiarized myself with the IP zoning and was satisfied with those types of businesses that were permitted on IP. In fact, the majority of my purchase decision waited on the zoning of this property, and had it not been zoned this way, we would have not purchased the lot. Many of my neighbors underwent the same process and made their purchase decisions based on this information. IP zoning was appealing to us for the following reasons. There would be little or no patronage after general working hours, so that means there'd be less lighting, noise, litter, that sort of thing, interference during evening hours. IP properties require extensive landscaping when compared to MAC, a 9-meter curbside landscape versus 3-meter, and that would aid in the creation of privacy for residents. And Harbor Landing already has wonderful, complete neighborhood experience. There's easily accessible commercial services within a 3-minute drive and a 10-minute walk for North Harbor Landing residents. When talking with other residents, they share the same concerns as our family. The majority of concerns are with respect to the expanded retail trade permitted under the amendments. None of the residents I had spoken to purchased their property believing that they would back onto a gas bar, fast food restaurant, or a convenience store. And although some establishments of this nature are permitted under IP zoning, most of them are considered discretionary use, which would require approval and provide an opportunity for the community to voice our concerns. So it is the general consensus of residents that the development of these types of businesses would diminish the quality of our properties and reduce the value of them in turn. And using conservative estimates, I've calculated in excess of 250 residents whose properties would directly face or be adjoining to parcels A and U through the existing park. MAC zoning would mean that residents would encounter environmental concerns that go along with gas bars, patronage during extended business hours, increased disturbances such as noise, traffic during undesirable times, loitering, litter, excess lighting, or the potential for unwanted odors. So in alignment with the city's official community plan, residents support a complete neighborhood, providing easy access to daily life necessities. We enjoy the conveniences of these services and welcome them, but only when it doesn't impact our properties. The existing grasslands development already offers a wide variety of services which are easily accessible to us. It is important to us as stakeholders. We believe our opinion matters. After all, we will likely be the future patrons of these businesses. The development surrounding our properties should excite us, not alarm us, and have us second-guessing our purchase decisions. So to reiterate, it's very important to the members of this community that Council preserves the existing IP zoning for the parcels which interface residential properties. We believe it will maintain the integrity of the neighborhood where residents can enjoy peaceful, quiet living. I'd like to thank City Council for allowing me the opportunity to represent my community and hope that I've provided compelling information to maintain the integrity of our beautiful neighborhood. Our family, along with many others, have invested a significant amount of money to establish our dream home in our dream neighborhood. And as you can imagine, we care a lot about what happens in this community. Thank you.
Any questions? Councillor O'Donnell? Okay, Councillor Hawkins?
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Ms. Billam, for coming forward. Two quick questions. The first is, you mentioned that you've talked to other residents in your neighborhood. Is there consensus and feeling about this? Can you describe what their reaction was in a little more detail?
Yeah, we were provided with notice in early June of the proposal. And so I started just informally canvassing my neighbors to discuss the proposal with them. I'm aware of several of them that had submitted letters to the Planning Commission stating their concerns. Unfortunately, they weren't able to attend today, but I further stayed in touch with them, and through email, they helped me develop this presentation.
Thank you very much. The second question is that you appear before the Planning Commission. You've read the decision of the Planning Commission. Is that a decision that you can support?
I believe it was a concession and a compromise. Ideally, I would like all of the parcels to remain IP zoning, especially parcel Y. I understand the need for parcel Z to accommodate, or it's an ideal place for commercial businesses. However, I think this is a good compromise for residents, and when I went back to the residents I've been working with, they were satisfied with that as well.
Thank you very much. And my final question, Mr. Deputy Mayor, is that Ms. Billan, you mentioned that you bought your property in the hope that you would be able to raise a family, and I understand that recent progress has been made on that front. Can you tell us about a most recent addition to Ward 2?
Yes, Logan Mark is his name. He's 2 months old today, so he's maybe one of the newest residents of Harbor Landing.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Good. Growth is good. Councillor O'Donnell?
Thanks, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Good evening. Thanks for coming forward. You were very articulate in your presentation. But I just want to go back, and previously Councillor Hawkins asked a little bit about where I was going to go. Ultimately, we're talking about 4 parcels of land here. When you purchased your property and your neighbors purchased, you understood that these 4 parcels would in fact be non-residential, that they would be something else. Is that correct?
Correct. I was told that because of the noise level of the airport, they would never become residential, but that they would be this industrial prestige zoning, that it was very restrictive, and I looked into that and was satisfied with what that was going to be.
So I'll use your words, the compromise that's before us, in fact, allows 2 of the parcels to be developed in a commercial notion that would have traffic and so on. Are you aware of that, and do you understand that?
I am aware of that. I would say, again, it's not ideal, but I don't know if trying to fight for all 4 was realistic. So, I mean, I would love today if Parcel Y could become a MAC 3, which then would restrict it even further,
Right.
Leaving the first parcel, Parcel Z, as MAC. I mean, that would be wonderful, but I'm just not sure if that is realistic.
The 2 parcels that are proposed to be left industrial prestige are the ones that back or are closest to the residential area. Is that correct?
That's correct. And from what I know from the plan, Parcel A is going to further develop behind with high-density residents, so there'll be even more residents impacted by that parcel.
Very good. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? You can return to the gallery. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Looking to move CR 14118, please.
So, Deputy Mayor, this is an application for a zoning bylaw amendment, rezoning of industrial prestige to MAC in Harbor Landing, proposed parcels A, Y, Z, U in Harbor Landing Phase 3 and Phase 4-4D also in Harbor Landing. So I think the delegation did a great job actually of explaining the circumstance. There are 4 pieces of 4 separate parcels of property in this area, and the proposal that was before Planning Commission was to change all of these to MAC. And our delegation appeared at that time, and I must admit swayed Planning Commission at that time toward the compromise. The 2 parcels that are proposed in here to remain industrial prestige are the ones, and I think that she did a nice job of explaining why. That is, these are the ones that are closest to the residential areas. And so Planning Commission felt that this was a very, very respectful compromise. It still allowed for some development along what will be a very major street, but it protected the residential nature of what is going on here. So before you, you have 2 parcels that would remain as they were, industrial prestige, and 2 that would go to MAC. We think this is a fair compromise. Would see your support for this, please.
Thank you. Councillor Hawkins would like to second that.
I would like to second that, Mr. Chair.
And speak.
And just briefly say that I appreciate the care the delegation took in presenting the case clearly. I appreciate the work that the Planning Commission has done on this and the solution that they've reached. So I'm happy to support the motion before Council.
Any other speakers on this? Okay, I'll call a question. All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Councillor O'Donnell.
Thanks. This is also from Planning Commission. The number is 14-119. It's an application for a zoning bylaw amendment. The addresses are 1120 and 1148 Osler Street. And basically, this is a change in designation to MAC. So we're talking a lot about MAC. You will note this is 2 car dealerships, and they already own the property in and around the area, which I would call a very commercial area. They want to redevelop it into I guess a bigger, stronger, faster car dealership or dealerships. And so we saw no issue with this whatsoever. The impact is only positive on here. So again, we'd seek your concurrence.
Any discussion? Call the question. Seconder. I'm sorry. Councillor Murray. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Zoning bylaws. Councillor Findura.
Mr. Deputy Mayor, I move second by Councillor Hawkins that the bylaw number 2014-79 and 81 be introduced and read the first time.
All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried.
I move second by Councillor Hinks that the bylaw 2014-79 and 81 be read second time.
Madam?
I
Thank you. Council will now consider two amendments to the Regina zoning amendment bylaw as required under the Planning and Development Act 2007. They are bylaw 2014-79, respecting the proposed zoning to accommodate an automobile sales and service dealership as part of a larger site. Bylaw number 2014-81, respecting the proposed zoning to allow for more extensive commercial use of the properties as compared to the current zoning. If there is anyone in the gallery this evening who wishes to address council on either of these proposed amendments, please step forward and identify yourself at this time as directed by the Deputy Mayor. There appears to be no one, Your Worship.
Perfect. We'll continue. All
I
those
move second by Councillor Young that Council hereby consent to bylaw 2014-79 and 81 going to the third reading at this meeting.
All those in favor? This is second. Now we're doing third. Yes.
I move second by Councillor Burnett that bylaw 2014-79 and 81 be read a third time.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Committee reports. Board of Police Commissioners.
I'm looking at Councilor Hinks, wondering if you want to table it, okay? Thanks, Mr. Deputy
Just
Mayor.
one moment, please,
Oh,
Mr.
sorry.
Deputy Mayor. We have one more reading of that bylaw, please.
Oh, well, you're
One
right.
more?
Yes, please.
Sorry.
Sorry, ahead of myself.
I thought he read the third.
So I seconded by Councillor Murray that the bylaw 2014-79 and 81 be read the third time.
Second. Do I have to do the second? Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Okay, there we go. Councilor Murray.
Thanks very much, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I rise to bring forward CR 14-120, and this would be the Regina Police Service 2015 operating and capital budget. Recommendations coming forward from the Board of Police Commissioners is two parts. One, that the 2015 Regina Police Service operating and capital budget, which includes an estimated gross operating expenditure of $76,920,200 and revenues of $8.873 million, resulting in a net operating budget of $68 million be approved. Mr. Deputy Mayor, I guess I'll look for a seconder and then I'll continue on with the remainder.
I'll second it.
Councilor Hinks.
Thanks, Councillor Hinks. So the last part of the report, Mr. Deputy Mayor, is that the 2015 capital budget of $2.7637 million with capital funding to be determined by Regina City Council, and that would be approved. So, Mr. Deputy Mayor, that would be the recommendations before us.
Should this not be tabled to the budget negotiations?
Yes.
I guess that would be correct.
Yeah.
So it is moving towards the budget, so I'm tabling it for the budget. Those are the numbers before us to be tabled.
To be tabled.
To be tabled. So tabling motion.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Deputy Mayor, the point of clarification is that your motion is to table this report to the December 8th City Council meeting dealing with budget.
You are right on the money. That's exactly what I was looking
Thank
for.
you very much.
Thank you. That's what I thought I heard too, so. Okay. Councilor Hinks, are you seconding that as well? Good. Thank you. Any questions, debate? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Executive Committee.
Oh, it is executive.
Councilor, do we do with the old? Councilor Burnett? You chaired it, so.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I bring forward item CR 14-121, which is from the recommendation of the Executive Committee on October 22nd, 2014, regarding Regina and Region Water and Wastewater Study follow-up. The primary recommendation is that the Council direct administration to endeavor to enter into a memorandum of understanding with committed stakeholders to conduct further investigation into the potential for a long-term regional wastewater system east of Regina.
I'll second that.
Oh, seconded by Councilor Bryce. Any discussion? We're all good? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Public Works and Infrastructure Committee. Councilor Bryce.
Thank you. I'll move CR 14-22, which is the snow site snow storage site user fee. And basically the recommendations are that we look into the fees possibly for next year for November 1st, 2015. We will get a report back to Public Works second quarter of 2015 as well. So I'll move the recommendations.
Okay. Seconder, Councillor Young. Any questions? Councillor O'Donnell.
Thanks. Can I ask, as a follow-up to this, about public engagement, how this is going to work? Do we have a plan for that yet?
Ms. Gasmo?
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, the exact plan I don't have in front of me, but our intent is to engage most of the contractors that are hauling to this site to discuss the process in which would work best to facilitate the continuous usage of the facility so that they're not dumping ad hocly other places and that it's used appropriately.
Sure. A follow-up to that, if I could. I'm wondering if you have any anecdotal information that would suggest whether or not the people who are already paying for snow removal, I'll say mall or strip mall, actually know that they are not paid, we are not paid as the city for the service. Is that knowledge that you would have, or is that pure speculation on my part?
Mr. Deputy Mayor, I don't believe that's something we have information on, but something certainly we can endeavor to look into.
Okay, so that's good, thanks. So a couple of thoughts. One is that, well, I appreciate and expected that it will be the people who are immediately affected by this would be engaged, but I do think that there's a bit of a public record here in terms of a user pay system that we are in fact leading toward. I think that if I could suggest, I would appreciate the notion that the general public also be aware of this discussion and that they have the opportunity to comment accordingly. I think that we are, and I believe correctly, moving into a user pay system, so, or could be, and I like that. The second part of it is I think that there's an environmental impact here that I believe is very good. Our folks do a great job of preparing the site and then cleaning up the site. If you note from the information that's before us, that's not always the case in other cities. That comes with a cost. So I think we're being very prudent and very wise by doing that. I believe that it's fair that those who are benefiting from the service pay a fee. I'm looking forward to this. I appreciate that this is before us.
Thank you. Councillor Hawkins.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I have one question for the administration. I'm wondering if they could just expand a bit on the practice in other cities with respect to snow removal and user pay.
Ms. Gasmo?
Mr. Deputy Mayor, I should ask Mr. Malowski to help with some of that.
Go ahead.
Mr. Deputy Mayor, other cities across Canada, some cities already have implemented user fee. Some cities are contemplating. Some cities don't allow dumping of snow on city-owned snow storage. So there is kind of mixed approach. In Saskatchewan, Saskatoon and Yorkton are going towards implementing user fee, and currently there is about 75% of snow in these facilities, snow accepting facilities, that comes from private sector, and the desire is to move towards recovering the cost and not put the burden on average taxpayer to subsidize dumping of snow from specific group. The other approach, like City of Calgary, doesn't accept snow at all, and then the private sector takes care of that issue and accept snow on to provide service. And in some other cities across Canada, they either charge per load or they charge yearly fee or a kind of paid permit, and based on this permit the contractor can dump snow as many times as they wish. In fee structure, the permit would be depending on size of the truck. In other scenario, they are accepting loads and the charge is applied at the snow dump, so it is per load and depending on the vehicle side. based on experience, the last option is the most costly because it requires more staff on site, dedicated staff to collect fee. It requires handling cash or other means of payment, so it provides higher cost. And typically, that cost is passed back to the customers. So companies who are bringing the snow to the snow dump, have to pay higher fee. So that's pretty much the summary of it.
Thank you very much. I just wish to make one comment, and that is to support both observations made by Councillor O'Donnell. I think it's important that the public have some chance to comment and provide input into this. But I also think that user fee is an area that's going to come up here, but in other areas, it's the reality of municipalities that we don't have the kind of tax base that will support the free provision of services, and that some kind of user fee system for these kinds of services is likely inevitable. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Young?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One of my questions was already answered by Mr. Malosky. So my second question was, there are, I think, more than just city trucks dumping snow there and then contractors who clear parts of the city, but you have people coming in from around the city and from rural areas that aren't part of the city as well. Is that correct?
Ms. Gasmo?
Through you, Mr. Deputy Chair, that is correct. There's approximately 60% of the trucks or volume at the snow storage site is created from non-city users. I don't have the breakdown of what percentage that is from within city limits or outside of city limits, but there's definitely a percentage of that is from outside city limits.
Okay. Would you be thinking about different rates then? Rates for in the city snow storage as opposed to people who are not part of the city?
Ms. Gasmo?
Through you, Mr. Deputy Chair, I don't think we're at a stage yet where we've contemplated if that would be a recommendation or not. We're going to spend this season fully understanding the usage, who uses it, how they use it, and then based on how other municipalities are handling it and what works best for the City of Regina, explore different different options.
Thank you.
I just have one question, if I could ask it from here too, is that is this report going to look at different locations, or is it just going to stick to one? Would it be more economical for us to have 3 or 4 snow sites around the city and peripheral, or are we going to look at that at all?
Mr. Deputy Mayor, at this time, this report and this study contemplates only the usage of the one site.
Okay.
There's no work being undertaken at this time to look at additional sites.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions of this report? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Councillor O'Donnell.
Also from Planning Commission is an application for a discretionary use, a proposed office greater than 150 meters squared, and the address is 1355 11th Avenue. Now, I've tried, since I've been chair of Planning Commission, to always give you a story about what's going on when I bring forward a report. So if I get a seconder, I'll finish my quick story.
I'll second it.
Thanks very much. We didn't discuss this. This is a repurpose of a building. There was no discussion. We didn't see any problem with this, and so we're looking for concurrence.
Any questions? Doesn't seem to be. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried.
I'll move adjournment.
Thank you very much. All those in favor?
Second.
You got a seconder, Councillor Murray? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Enjoy your night.